So I am Miranda. I work for Macrostax, obviously. And when any of you choose to write into Stacks chat through the app, we'll go over that. You'll get me. So you can put my face with who you're talking to when you have questions. I have been with Macrostax for a little over 6 years. I've been counting macros for close to 7. And I have been where every one of you have been. I've, been beginner mode, don't know what the heck I'm doing, getting really frustrated. I've been where I've been counting for a long time and get bored. There's definitely ebbs and flows with nutrition. Everybody knows that. Like, you get super psyched about it, and then you kind of let it fall off, and then you get super psyched about it. And it's just the way it goes. But I'm here, Macrostax is here, Matt's there to help you, obviously, with your nutrition goals, with your gym goals. It all plays out together. So we're going to do what we can to make it easy on you. I am going to go through the app, not every little thing, because that will take like over an hour, but I'm going to try to hit the highlights, and then we're going to have some question time at the end. But while I'm doing this, if there are any questions about like what I'm doing, or if you can't see something, just, unmute yourself, let me know. So yeah, okay, I'm going to share my screen. So this is what it looks like when you log in. Obviously, you guys have your logo there. It has your name. And then there's the today's meal plan for tomorrow. These recipes, just so you know, are not specific to you. They are just a variety of recipes that are chosen to that you can see. So they're going to be different every time you open the app. The tip is going to be different. There's a blog. There's a great place for help center articles, and of course our Macrostaxers group. So the big thing we're going to talk about is the planner. As you can see, I have my day planned for today already. So I'm going to go to a new day where I don't have any food. So that would be Monday. And one of the things we wanted to talk about was scanning. So I have some things on my desk to scan, but it's super easy. You're just going to tap a meal. The scanner is in that search bar at the top. You just tap on that, and I'm going to scan some pistachios, and voila, they come up. So I hardly scan anything, and I'm going to show you why I don't scan much. When you go to a meal, and I'm going to put in my normal breakfast, as you can, my frequently used will come up here. If you swipe, whoops, not that much. If you swipe, you can just add to meal. You don't have to go back and forth like when you scan. So if you see, I'm going to scan something else, and it's going to scan it, and it's going to take me back to the planner where I then have to add more items, which is a pain. So when I'm adding my breakfast or lunch or anything, I go to my frequently used. I just use that swipe. You can swipe right or left. And I type a lot of times instead of scanning because it's faster. Once you start to add more foods and have more favorites, you're going to see that it is a lot faster than scanning everything. So if there's something that you eat on a regular basis, I highly recommend favoriting it. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I scanned those pistachios. I don't have them a whole lot, but if I tap that heart, they are going to come up in my favorites. So they're going to come up at the top of the list if I just even type PIST for pistachio. So that's super quick and easy. I will oftentimes do this, not worry about the quantity, and come back in and edit the quantity later. So let's say I'm actually going with grams. I'm going to do 15 grams, and that change is made. So that's something that a lot of people that swipe to add don't know about, because it's not something that we really show you, and you wouldn't know unless you accidentally did it. So that's a super quick way to do things. Another great way to do things, if you eat the same thing for breakfast, We have the same meal every Friday. So I'm going to go to Friday and I'm going to tap at the top right hand corner and hit copy meals. And I'm going to go to last Friday, which was yesterday, and hit dinner. And it is going to show me everything I had for dinner. We have French bread pizza, and that's what I'm going to select. I'm going to ask it to put it in dinner and hit copy. So I don't have to enter all of that every single time. And again, if any of this changes, sometimes I will have mushrooms. Sometimes I don't have any basil. I can just delete that and it's gone. But you don't have to worry about searching or scanning everything. Another way to do this is to create a recipe with all of these things, but I tend to swap things more often, so it's a lot easier for me just to do individual foods. Everybody's different as to what they like to do. I do have a breakfast that I have as a custom recipe, which is overnight oats base. So I basically put everything in the overnight oats except for the toppings, we'll say, and I add those separately in the morning, but I have this base ready to go at all times, all the dry ingredients, and then I just add the wet ingredients the night before, put it in the fridge, but these amounts don't change, and so I just went ahead and did a recipe for it because it's going to be the same every single time. Hitting your green thumbs is hard to start with. Don't feel like you are failing, you are learning. Some simple things to do to get your green thumbs are to look at what happened the day before and see, okay, what foods did I have that could have helped me get here sooner? So a lot of times when we think about, oh, I still have 25 grams of carbs left, I have to have a whole nother food. You may not have to have a whole nother food. For instance, I'm gonna go to today. So for breakfast this morning, I had an English muffin with some chicken tenders. I had leftovers because I didn't realize I was out of Canadian bacon. But normally I would not have had chicken tenders. I wouldn't have had 40 grams of protein at breakfast, but I could have increased the amount of Canadian bacon that I needed. Or if my protein were over, I could go and maybe cut one of those chicken tenders in half and make this 110 grams. So you can see there, I just took 20 grams of protein out of my meal. Well, you can do that to add things as well. So like, you can't hear anything?
I can hear you.
Okay, Cheryl can't hear me.
You might just be in a bad area with cell service.
Okay. Hopefully it'll be okay in the recording. So it's kind of one of those things where when you play with the amounts, and I don't know how many of you use grams versus ounces or common units, but one thing that we do recommend is having a scale to weigh your food, because using grams, you can do those small tweaks, like strawberries. Instead of putting 5 strawberries, how much do those 5 strawberries weigh versus another 5 strawberries, right? I'm sure you all have gotten a package of strawberries where one is like humongous and then there's one tiny one. You can't think of those as the same. So when you're playing with your macros for the day, that's kind of how you can go about that. And that's why planning really helps. And not just, I don't expect anyone to you know, have every single meal prepped out, ready to go every single day. I don't. But I do kind of have a general idea of what I'm eating, and so I will put that in. So I'm going to go to tomorrow because I already have tomorrow planned out. So we're having chicken Parmesan tomorrow night. And that's a recipe from somewhere else. And I put that in first. And then I put in my breakfast, my overnight oats, what I'm having. I have some shrimp ready to go. I'm gonna have some rice and broccoli and some yum yum sauce, because why not? It's a great way to get some fat if you need it. And then an apple and some peanut butter and some like puff things. They're like sort of like popcorn for a snack. So here's an example where if I needed more carbs, I normally only have 100 grams of carbs. That's actually what I have favorited. So you can see I'm short. I would still call this a good day. I wouldn't super worry about it, but I can increase those carbs. Well, that got me the carbs. Now I'm still short on protein. So 115, nope, 120, oops. So there you see, that's kind of how you can do it without having to add a whole nother food to your planner. But when we are talking carbs, an easy way to get them is an apple, a banana, a glass of juice in the morning, simple things like that. One of the things that you can do when you're running into trouble is reach out to me. So how you do that is the main menu, which is the bottom right-hand 3 lines. And if you go to Stacks Chat and send us a message. And you say, I need help. And that will come to me. So I will see that message. I will reply to you and I can help you figure out what to change in your planner. I can see your planner on my end, so you don't have to worry about telling me everything that you have laid out. So just know that you can do that. You can ask me about your settings. You can ask me about your planner. You can ask me how to, have some strategies to stay on track, pretty much anything except medical. So just know that you can reach out to me anytime. As I told Matt, the hours are technically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but I'm online a lot in the morning, really early morning, some after 5, and I'm always on the weekends here and there. So you don't ever have to wait too long to get a reply if it's not during that normal Monday through Friday. So don't feel like, oh, I have to wait or something like that. If you need help, reach out. That's what I'm here for. So when we're looking at your overall planner, the other thing I did not go over was in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see workout day. So there's workout day, rest day, and refeed day. Right now, don't worry about refeed day. Just workout day and rest day. And if you are active 5 or more days a week, you can just keep it set to workout day. Don't worry about changing those macros. Don't worry about if you didn't get a workout in, it will be fine. I personally have always kept it on workout day because it's a lot easier to plan. I know what I need to do. You can always change it back and forth if you need to. What happens is workout day, you're going to have more carbs and less fat. Rest day, you're going to have less carbs and more fat. Your protein is going to be the same no matter what. So we want to keep your muscles, recovering and growing and getting stronger. And when it comes time for refeed day, I can talk with you guys about that more, but I don't want to confuse you with that right now. So that's what I'm saying. Right now, we're just going to focus on that workout and rest day. Next to where it says workout day, those 3 dots, if you hit edit schedule, you can actually change the number of meals that you have. So we're going to recommend a number of meals based on your calories. But you can change, you can have 2 meals a day if you want. You can have 7 meals a day if you want. It really doesn't matter. And by meals, I mean meals and snacks. You can drop in a workout if you want to. So adding a meal, all you do is tap add meal. You name that meal. I'm just going to call this one brunch. And it's going to automatically go to the bottom. I'm just going to drag it up and put it in here between breakfast and lunch. That's my snack in the morning. And then you can add more than 1 workout if you want to. If you're on an Android phone, just an FYI, in order to get that to go down, you have to go side to side first and then drop down. It doesn't work that way on an iPhone. You can just drag it. So if you run into that, that's why. When you add a workout to your day, it's going to adjust your meal macros. So in your planner, if you have a workout before or after a meal, it's going to adjust those macros so that they're higher carb, lower fat. Protein's going to be adjusted evenly throughout each meal. You do not have to worry about those numbers unless you want to. But you'll see here under breakfast, it says 51, 46, 38, 28, 9, 11. So the number on the right is the recommended number based on the math of if it's before or after a workout, if it's just any other time of the day, that sort of thing. The number on the left is what you have logged. So what you've actually eaten for that meal. The most important thing is those top numbers. And you can also see those and calories by tapping on the line underneath fat. Now we'll open that up and you can see where you are. So what's interesting is when you have macros left over, if you tap on this, you can say, oh, I still have a lot of play with carbs because technically I will have a green thumb until I hit 207 because you can go 5 either way. So when you are concerned about, oh gosh, I'm going to go over on something, if I add something, don't be. Number one, I'd rather see you go over a little bit on something in order to hit another one. But number two, you do have play. So always look at that. Your calories over here are the same thing. On the left is what you have logged. On the right is the recommended. Don't worry so much about that. As long as you're within 100-ish, which you're going to be if you're hitting your green thumbs, that's what matters. There are some foods that scan different than the calories. And this I brought into my office on purpose. So these are carb balance tortillas. And they say 45 calories, but it has 2 grams of fat, 12 grams of carbs, and 4 grams of protein. Well, if we do the 4-4-9 rule, that's 82 calories. It doesn't matter. We're counting macros, but they get that because they take the dietary fiber out, which you can do with the FDA. They allow that. So we're not really worried about calories. We're worried more about macros, which brings me to alcohol. Everybody likes to have a drink now and again, right? And I actually have one planned for tonight. So when you're adding alcohol to your meals, you're going to go to the regular search, but you're not going to add it that way. You're going to go to custom. You're going to tap on the chef's hat to the right of the search bar. And then here you'll see new food, new recipe, and alcohol. So this is where you're going to add it. And you can add it by beverage, by calories, or by ABV and size. So common beverage is just going to be your normal light beer, beer, seltzer, all that kind of stuff. If you're a craft beer drinker, you probably want to go by ABV because those are going to be on the higher side for ABVs than a regular beer. And then if there's something that you just don't know, but you know the calories, you can do it by that. So what's going to happen is when you put in the ABV and the size, or if you use the, the common drink list, it's going to come up with the screen, and you're going to be able to choose between carbs and fat. You can choose all carbs, you can choose all fat, or you can choose anywhere in between. And I get this question a lot, which one should I choose? It's up to you. Whatever you have in left for your macros, or how you think your day is going to go out. Most people use carbs. I have been counting macros a long time where I have a hard time feeling fat anymore because I eat a lot of low fat things. So I tend to use more fat. But you can do either way. And here's why. It's not really carbs or fat. You're not really getting nutrients from it. I'm sure you guys already know that. But we want to account for the calories. And so that is how we do it. So you just slide to whatever you want, hit save and add to meal, and it's going to go ahead and add it to your meal for you. So you don't have to do the math in your head. While we're at the custom, Cheryl reminded me that you guys have meal prep done by Brandon sometimes. And this is where you would enter the information for his meals. You don't have to create a brand new recipe because he's going to give you the nutrition information. So in this case, you would just name it whatever it is. And I would just leave it 1 serving unless for some reason you're going to split it in half or it's more than 1 serving. And just put in what he gives you for the carbs and protein and fat. And save and add to meal. So that's super simple, right? You don't have to figure out how much of whatever he used. And that's going to be in there for you whenever you want to go back.
Hey, Crystal, I think your audio is on.
Okay, so along those lines, when we are entering a other recipe, so this what we just did for Brandon's food, you can do the same thing if you have nutritional information for a recipe that you get online and you aren't changing anything for it. If you have a recipe that you have from somewhere, maybe it's something that you make at home, and you are changing something, or it's just something that you're making up. Again, it's super easy. You're just going to type in recipe, the name of your recipe, obviously, the ingredients, that's not what I wanted, but I'm going to do it anyway. So that's a 2 food recipe, just so you know. So I just put cottage cheese and strawberries together. I'm going to call it 1, actually 2. It's going to make 2 servings, 2 cups. You can call that whatever you want. Like if you make cookies, you can make 2 cookies, 24 cookies, whatever. Oops, that's not right. 1 cup, and it makes 2. So whatever you put in the unit, it's going to ask you how many it makes. A lot of people get confused or overthink this because if you put it's 1 serving and it makes 2 servings, well, how much is a serving? Well, it's half of whatever it is. Some of our recipes have 6 servings. What is that? Usually it's in a casserole, so divide it down and then into thirds, right? So just 6 equalish portions. You can also do this by weight, and there are some recipes that I will weigh versus do just normal names. But those are things that I generally am not dividing into equal things to eat later. But most of the time when I make something, I just go ahead and do that because it's just easier. But it's not difficult to make our custom recipe. It can be tedious when there's like 15 ingredients. But you know, you have it, it's always going to be in there for you later. So you only have to do a 1 and done kind of thing. So as you can see, I actually have a lot of custom things because I've been using this for a long time. You can also search just your custom food. You can search just your custom recipes. So there's lots of ways to do that. That's kind of the planner in general. That copy meals thing that I showed you earlier, you can also do that per meal and do copy yesterday's meal, or you can copy meals from, you know, another day that same way that we did before. You can favorite the whole meal in general, all of the items in there. You can remove the whole meal. If you just tap on anything, there's probably something that you can do somewhere. So like I said, it takes a long time to go over everything. So that's kind of a quick overview of the planner itself. But recipes, this one's important. Go through this when you have time. Heart anything that you think looks good that you might want to try. It's going to make it into your favorites list and make it easier to find. This featured page will change monthly. The recipes in the new will change monthly. The recipes in the seasonal change about every 3 months. And then the others change kind of as I think about it, not gonna lie. The search is where you're going to find all of our recipes. And as you can see, there's 639. That's a lot. It's super overwhelming. The best way to find recipes is to use the filters. And that is just to the right of the search bar. There's over 50 filters to choose from. And my recommendation is to start with the macro profiles. You can search for high or low carb, high or low protein, high or low fat. So if you are specifically looking to get a high carb meal, let's look for high carb. Now it's for dinner and I want it to be kid friendly. Now I'm going to show my results. So I knocked it down to 15. So that's a huge help when you're looking for something, right? Anytime you have a number on that little filter thing, that means you have filters turned on. You can filter so much that you're not going to find anything. So if you get that oops message, you can go back to your filters and take one off so that you can kind of see what you're doing there. I'm just going to look at this Instant Pot beef stew with rice. So this is, 72 grams of carbs. That's super high, right? And it's because it has that rice with it. So you'll see this has the makes 23 grams, eat 290. So this is one of those instances where it is going to have you weigh it. However, if you have your preferences set as common, I don't think it will. So let me preferences. I think it will give you a different. Yeah, so now the beef stew makes 8 servings instead of the weight. So if you want to weigh, you can have your preferences set to grams. If you don't want to weigh and you just want to divide it out equally, which is totally fine, have your preferences set to common units. So those are the differences there. You're still going to see grams in the ingredients. If possible, we're just going to give them to you so it's easier. But other than that, it's like any other recipe that you would have. If you're making this from your phone and you've forgotten what the ingredients are when you're in this little directions list, you can tap on that measuring cup and it's going to bring that list of ingredients up for you really quickly, so you don't have to be scrolling back and forth, which is kind of cool. You can also tap those 3 dots in the top right hand corner and hit print recipe, and it will open up your browser to a printable recipe. I like paper. This was like me requesting this because I hate doing anything with my phone open in the kitchen. So just so you know, that's a great way to print it. That's going to be the same thing if you share it. It's just going to give you that link basically, and you can send it to anyone you want, text, or email, whatever. So those are a couple ways to do that. Just, when you share a recipe with someone, it's not automatically putting it into their planner. So it's just sharing the actual recipe with them. Favorites, obviously, is going to have all of your favorited recipes that are in your filters. So if I get rid of my filters, oops. There we go. Still on there. Show off. That obviously isn't working like it's supposed to. So you can see I have more favorites than just that one. And then custom, again, is going to have all of your custom recipes. This is not going to have your custom foods, just your custom recipes. Your custom foods are only found in your planner. So just in case you get confused on that, it happens all the time. Don't worry about it. Ask me, I'll remind you. And then the next thing is your progress. So this section is going to be great. Once you kind of get going, you'll be able to see when you hit green thumbs. As you can see, I have other accounts, and as you can see, I haven't logged in this one for a while. I started again yesterday because my team at my gym was giving me heck about not logging in the one they can see. And then you can log your weight, you can log body fat if you guys have that, you can log measurements. You can also delete any of these. So let's just say I want to start fresh. I'm going to go to my measurements, and they're in here for a long time. I'm going to delete all of this. Oops. And now my measurements are cleared out. Also, if you happen to put the wrong weigh in, say, oops, that wasn't what I wanted to do, you can go back and save over it and it'll fix it, right? So you don't have to worry about accidentally doing something. There's always a way to get it back. And you guys don't have any challenges right now. And I can't remember, Matt, if you said you'd be running some, but when you do, you'll see this little trophy icon. You won't see it yet, probably, because it won't show until you have a challenge. And then when you have a challenge, you'll be able to see your leaderboard there. And then this page is just basically where you can go in and manage your profile, your goal, activity, all of that stuff. If you have questions about whether or not your settings are correct, please ask me. I'm more than happy to take a look at it, talk to you personally about, what you're doing for workouts, what your day-to-day activity looks like, and make sure that it's on the right thing. The quiz is pretty good at getting it right, but every once in a while, you might be borderline and we might make a different suggestion. So that is pretty much the app, a quick overview of it. I hope that was somewhat helpful, but does anyone have any questions regarding this or anything else?
No, I think that was great. I think the biggest thing was just being able to kind of understand what all the different buttons do and have that explain in a way to where you kind of work through there. I think the two big things that I found that I like most about the app, first and foremost, is just having Miranda there to, if you have questions, if you can reach out to her, you can shoot her a message. If you're thinking about it right then and you're like, hey, I want to know, a way that I can increase my protein intake. Well, you can shoot her a message and she'll get back to you versus trying to remember to ask me next time we're in the gym together, which you can still completely ask me too. And, I have direct link to Miranda as well, to where we're kind of like working together as a big united team here. So I think that's really cool. The other thing that I really think is super beneficial is the whole pre-planning your day prior to that day. And whether you're doing Brandon's meals or you're not, if you take a little bit of time to, input some of those meals that you eat on a fairly regular basis, like, for us, Julian's favorite meal is spaghetti. So it seems like we do spaghetti. So we could put that in there, and that's, we spend, the 5 minutes it takes to input that meal, but then, once a week, I can just drop that dinner in there. Well, when I put that, when I pre-plan and I plan my bigger meals, like my dinners or my lunches, or if your big meal is breakfast, well, then I can look at that and I can say, okay, that big meal took this many calories and this many macros. And then I can use my snacks and my other minor meals to adjust those numbers. So I think that a lot of times we get super frustrated with counting calories because we try to just kind of wing it and go into our day. Like we'll have our normal breakfast and we'll log that. And then we kind of get hungry. So we run to the gas station or we run to the pantry and we grab something, we log that, and all of a sudden, dinner time's coming. You're like, there's absolutely no way I'm going to hit my macros because I'm already way low on this and way over on this. But by pre-planning that day, it allows you to, one, kind of see where you're at. Like, this is something me and Sherry talked a lot about. Is it's interesting because I think she started following her macros, and this is the same that happened to me. Is, when I go for feel, and I'm pretty comfortable with my macros and judging food, but what I was finding is I was consistently being slightly shy on my protein and slightly over on my carbs, even though I thought I was getting plenty of protein in, and being conscious about my carb intake depending on the day. But it just kind of really gives you an eye opener to where you're actually at, and it sets that base for you. But no, I think you did awesome, Miranda. And I think those were the two biggest things that I found work for me, is pre-planning that day, using my big meals to kind of set that overall picture, and using my snacks in smaller meals to fill in the gaps.
I couldn't agree more. Having snacks are so much easier because, you can find more single macro foods that are snacks versus recipes, which are that, mixture of macros and are harder to tweak here and there. So I agree.
No pressure. If you don't have questions, don't feel like you have to make up a question. But if there is any questions from y'all, if anything about like things you've seen so far that didn't make sense, or any features you saw that you really liked, I will definitely get with Miranda and figure out some little competitions we can do, because that just sounds like fun to me. But if anybody else has anything.
No, Miranda, this is Sherry. I was just going to say, I was telling Matt this. My biggest thing is that I make pretty much every meal. And so I think that then you kind of mentioned the tedious nature of inputting ingredient by ingredient has been the challenge for me. So then I kind of just give up. I'm like, gosh, shit, I don't have time to do this right now. I'm moving on. And then I end up just scrapping the whole day. So that's I think the one challenge I have is the inputting of all the specific individual ingredients.
So I make 90% of our meals, and I do put them in individually because for me it's easier, and because I don't know how you work, but we pretty much have a rotation. So there's like 12 meals that we eat. And, like I said, Fridays, we always have French bread pizza. Tuesdays, we always have either chicken tacos or beef tacos. And so I can easily, yes, it's a pain in the butt to do it that one time, but then I can go back and copy to that day because I know it's always there. We have pasta one night a week. We eat different pastas, put them together differently. So it's just easier just to do the individual. But even if you don't have time to do it while you're sitting there, while you're making food, I don't either, but kind of have a general idea of how much there is, and you can at least put that in prior to dinner. So let's say, I'm just going to make this up because I don't know what you're eating, but there's a night that we have chicken thighs and we have 2 colors of bell peppers and onions and mushrooms that I stir fry all together, and then have it over rice, sometimes with sauce, sometimes not. But it's generally the same amount. And so I know that when I have bell peppers, 1 bell pepper is somewhere in the range of 160 to 175 grams by itself. And so I take half of that, and that's what I log. So it is hard when you're starting out, I'm not gonna lie, but you start to understand what size of pepper gets you, what amount. Same with a sweet potato. I used to go in way back. What's a medium sweet potato? I have no idea, right? It's about like 150 grams is what they call a medium sweet potato. There's no such thing as 150 gram sweet potato in the grocery store. I don't care what you tell me. They're all like 300. I mean, it's like double. So you just kind of get to know that, and just having that ballpark for dinner before that you have the rest of the day, even if it's not exact, is a better start than getting to the end of the day and just saying screw it. And it kind of helps you plan the rest of the day around it. Again, as I talked about before, this, the food labels, the FDA has like a 20% variance that they can be. None of this is perfect, right? But that's why we're just trying to get in that ballpark. That's why we have that leeway. That's why when I said earlier, if I had 7 or 8 grams left over, I'm not really going to worry about it. I'm not getting green thumbs, but you know, I'm pretty darn close. Now if I'm 20 grams off, I'm going to try to get closer, but that's easier to tweak. But does that make sense, Sherry? Like just trying to ballpark it as a start?
Yeah, it does. I think I just need to make myself play with it a little bit more and get some starting points put in there.
And I'm happy to help you. Like if you reach out to me and be like, hey, I have this recipe and I don't know what the best way to put it in there is, I'm happy to share, you know, some of the days that I have and how I do it. I just made a video for someone else that was going out for breakfast and they didn't know how to log, you know, what it was because the restaurant didn't have nutrition information. And so I did it basically the same way. I kind of, well, this is what I assume is in this scrambled egg meal based on what they're saying on the menu and put it together. And I'm happy to do that for anybody that wants it. I'm not just going to be like, you know, if you reach out and say, I need help with carbs, I'm not going to make a video for you on carbs. But if you say, I need help with this meal, can you do something to make me understand how to do this a little bit easier? I'm happy to put something together, you know, set up a call or something that's not beyond what I can do for y'all. So don't be afraid to ask for sure.
I think too, like 2 things that I just kind of thought about. I've done this before, and I don't know, Miranda, you maybe like shake your head at me for saying this, but you said this too, like it's not a perfect science, right? Like it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And there's times that whether we're at a restaurant or even if we cook something here at the house and I'm like, I don't have time to put this in there, I can go in there and I can search meals and I can find something that's pretty daggum close. Like if I don't know, I feel like I did this. We made meatloaf the other day. I'm like, I'm not putting all those ingredients in. So I just searched there. I found some restaurant that looked generally, I looked at the calories, like that looks about right. Bam, meatloaf done. So I don't know, Sherry, I know you're pretty clean on the way you cook, but you know, that is an option too, because really it's giving you an idea of where you're at. None of this is a perfect science.
Right.
At least it accounts for what you did and it gets you closer to that point as
A
well.
ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ballpark. Yeah. The other thing, let's see, there was another one I was going to say was the estimating of the meals. And then, if you, a lot of times too, and I catch myself doing this all the time. Like I'll have like, okay, the other night we went to Inferno's and I had 2 margaritas and like pizza, you know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm just not going to log this, you know, cause it was a bust of a day. So I'm just not even going to count it. Like log it, right? Because here's why, because your body doesn't know what your daily 24-hour caloric intake is, right? I mean, I know y'all have all heard me say this, like I could bust my daily macros or my daily calories by 500 calories, right? Today. Well, then I can fix that throughout the week. I can then change my mindset to, okay, well, what's my weekly calories? What are my weekly caloric? And I can make fine tunements to kind of fix that over time too. So, and once again, these are all ballparks. It's just letting you know where you're at, right? And that's, I think the biggest thing is kind of building that awareness.
I agree. I like that you said to log it, Matt, because you're right. A lot of people will just blow it and say, I didn't do anything. And then logging it helps you remember when something down the road, like, you know, oh yeah, I did have those 2 margaritas 2 days ago, and that's probably what's happening with my weight right now, right? But also, if you don't log it, it's out of your mind. You've forgotten about it and you don't have any recollection of, well, I don't understand why this isn't working. It's also great to keep logging because if you stop logging one day, it's easy to not log the next day and then the next day and then the next day, and it becomes a cycle. So, you know, even when you don't necessarily, when you're tired of everything, when you don't want to log it, just log it. Just make that ballpark and, you know, keep that habit of logging going, because that is what is going to help you in the long run for sure, even if you're not hitting your macros.
Hey, Miranda, this is Crystal. I have a question for you. You mentioned that we can favorite the recipes that are listed in the app. Since they rotate through seasonally or monthly or whatever, if we favorite something, is it going to stay in our favorites or is it going to cycle off when they cycle through recipes?
So they don't fall off of the app. They just fall off of that featured page. So they're still in
Okay.
the app. Even seasonal recipes are in the app year round. So if you
Okay.
want pumpkin latte in February, it's there, right?
Perfect.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that at all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Awesome. Like I said, if you don't have questions, you don't have to make up questions. It is Saturday. And once again, we recorded this, and so I'm going to share this with everybody, and I'll probably put it like on my YouTube channel or something like that, to where it's accessible at all times. And then also too, you can use the app, and you can go to the resources and ask Miranda questions directly as well. So I really appreciate you, Miranda, for taking time out of your Saturday to do this for us. And last chance if anyone's got a question. If not, then we can drive forward with our weekend.
Thank y'all for your time. I'm good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great to meet everyone.
Thanks, Miranda. Thanks, Matt. Bye.